Racism has raised its ugly head yet again. And it's caused Manchester City and England striker Raheem Sterling to point the finger directly at the media and call them out and said that the media are part of the problem, depicting black players differently to the way they depict white players. Is he right?
I think he's absolutely right. Clearly, racism is part of a much broader societal problem, but I think for too long the media and particular newspapers, I'm thinking the Sun and the Mail in particular, have sort of shirked their responsibility in creating an environment where prominent black players are treated differently to white players. They're somehow cast as different or other. And you can tell that sometimes in very subtle ways, whether it's the headlines on articles or the language used or even the pictures used to illustrate them. And even though it's not the whole problem, it's part of a wider tapestry that I think needs to be acknowledged and now is being acknowledged.
Nigel, is Raheem right?
In my experiences, we've kind of grown up to learn that there's been sometimes, I would say, coded language used. You know, I've heard it before, he's got an attitude problem, he has a chip on his shoulder. These are things that I've heard in dressing rooms and seen with certain players where actually that's not the case. But it's been coded language that's been used in football for such a long time. You know, I've seen with some other players that I've played with, some colleagues, I'm not going to name names, they'll come in, they wouldn't socialise, they'll just keep themselves to themselves. Once or twice they might, and they'll go home and it's, oh, he's just different. But if it's a black player that comes in and he's having a quiet day and wants to be left alone, oh, he's moody today, oh, he's sulking, oh, what's wrong with you? And it got me to the point where you start to think to yourself that if I'm coming to have a quiet day, what's wrong with that? You hear the story of Nicolas Anelka became labelled the Le Sulk. And it kind of, as you grow into that environment, you kind of learn to see a lot of it is media-based. And it's media-based not just to football, but it's society. They can't conduct themselves correctly, you know, they're criminals. And I've seen stories of, you know, if you're in a nice car, you're depicted as either a drug dealer or a footballer. Why can I not be an accountant? Why can I not be a lawyer? But it's all things that have been fueled by the media, the negative stereotype and portrayal of young black men.
Troy, is some of the things that Nigel's been saying, are they fueled by racism, or is this something that's done unwittingly, in your opinion?
Way before Nigel's time, we would have had black players come out and actually say the same thing without being able to voice their opinion in the way that maybe Raheem did. We're treated differently. That has to be classed as racism. There's no other way you can look at it. There's an unconscious bias around a lot of people, and that involves because they don't even want to get to understand who other people that they concerned are different, who they are, what their background's like. So it's easy to jump on the bandwagon and use this stereotypical opinion of what a black person should be. You know, the worrying thing is for the 6th year on the trot now, we've had an increase in reports coming into us, 11% rise this time around. We've just released our stats. Over 50% of that is born from racism. You dip into the untapped side of the game, which is grassroots, which we kind of tend to bat away a lot of the time. It's over 70%. That should send a massive signal anyway to everybody that's working in football that we need a problem to address. 2 weeks later, we get an incident of a banana on a football pitch, and we get what happened with Raheem on Saturday. And all of a sudden now, people are jumping on the bandwagon as if now we need to do something about this. My worry is that after the weekend's fixtures, that it will die down again. If we have a blank week this week and everyone's just concentrating on football, they'll just worry about Raheem Sterling, the footballer. But his message should send a message right round this game that we need to act now or else.
I think a lot of people labour under the misconception that racism has to be a direct act, often a violent act. It's using the N-word or it's throwing a banana. People don't seem to realise that it can be structural, it can be societal, it can be lots of, thousands of incremental acts that create a broader picture of discrimination. We talk about black managers, representation in the game, in different professions, and I think that's led to a second misconception, which is that it was all solved 30 years ago when people stopped throwing bananas. And in fact, it's still very much there, and I think everybody, including the media, has to do a little bit of a better job of explaining that.
Raheem, he's standing alone a little bit. Doesn't he deserve a little bit of support?
From fellow pros, definitely, yeah. What Raheem's done, he's taken a big stand, and he's done a very brave thing. I think there's been players in the past who've been in the same pinnacle of their career where they've had opportunities to speak on this. Like you said, this isn't a new subject. This isn't something that's just happened this weekend or 2 weeks ago. This has been going on for a long time. And I think it would be great if some other players would actually support him and back him and have the belief and confidence in themselves to go out there and be themselves.
What you've seen this week, the way the media have responded, has it surprised you?
I have been slightly surprised by the strength of the reaction, and compare it to the reaction to Aubameyang and the banana the previous week. It seems that Raheem Sterling weighing in on this after probably the biggest game of the weekend has had an effect. And now,
what I would say, I'm sorry to cut across, but the banana throwing wasn't deemed racist, and that's probably why we didn't get reaction we did. If you look at all the newspapers, they said it was a missile. It was a banana on the pitch. There was no connotation towards racism. And for me, the media then failed the game by not describing it, the act, the way that it was. And I think that's why Raheem's situation probably has exploded more than Aubameyang's situation.
Does Troy have a point?
Yeah, no, this is exactly the point. The fact that it's taken this incident for so many people in the sports media to realise that there's a problem with this. I mean, Raheem Sterling was getting racially coded articles written about him 3 years ago when there was the contract standoff with Liverpool after Euro 2016, using the tropes of the blingy footballer, which again is an incredibly racially loaded term. So I think for a lot of journalists to come to this issue now as if it's something new and pretend to be shocked by it is really quite disingenuous, because some of us were writing about this a long time ago.
Now you have black players who have significant financial resources to say precisely what they want when they want. Are we seeing a seminal moment in the game where we're going to see more of this, do you think, Nigel?
I definitely think so, yeah. Times have changed. These players have a lot more power now. There's the power of social media. It could be to the point where black players refuse to do interviews with mainstream media.
Tyrone Mings.
They can do that. They've got the power of social media now where they can get their own views across without being misinterpreted or misconstrued by the media or, made out to be something that they're completely not.
In America, they had black footballers taking the knee, and that was a protest to what they felt was happening socially in their country. Could it have been a situation in this country where black footballers start to boycott the media if they think they're not being treated fairly?
In US sport, there's, I think, a stronger culture of athletes using their position for, to enact social change. And I think that's been less of the case here, and certainly in football. Whereas in the US, you see Colin Kaepernick taking the knee and all his work protesting, in the NFL. Prominent NBA players like Steph Curry and LeBron, speaking up about political issues. That's not something that's generally happened here.
For me, in my opinion, it's easy to do that in America because in America they have black coaches, black managers, black people in power of position. But the problem with England is people are black players in particular, are still afraid to speak out because they don't want to be so-called blacklisted.
It goes beyond the hire and firers, the people that make decisions, the people that pay the money. They're the ones that are going to, no, we can't have him saying that, because look at how the impact it will have on this football club.
Yeah.
So the press guys within the football clubs are saying, no, you can't say nothing. And they're dousing the players as well. And I think it's right. If we could get the power of the players to start going, we're not accepting this anymore. There's a situation that's happened. We feel that it's not being dealt with in the right manner. We have a voice. We have people behind us, and take the game on.
It needs white players to get involved as well. This shouldn't just be on black footballers to enact change. They have a job to do just the same as everybody else. I think everybody needs to work together.
As a collective, yeah.
Are you a little bit surprised when Raheem came out and said what he said last week about the media, that you didn't get players coming out in support? Were you not a bit surprised by that?
Honestly, I'm not surprised, if I'm honest. I don't think that we should be looking at all footballers in the same kind of level. It doesn't impact them, but it takes a strong character and someone to actually be the first, to be the leader and to say enough is enough. And Raheem is British. He's born and raised in this country. He knows what it's like to grow up here, so it impacts him a lot more. I think that it's a very brave thing of what he did.
Plenty did, by the way. If you look at the comments underneath Raheem Sterling's Instagram post, there were lots of supportive messages.
But you want it to be more public than just be on social media. Because it's like, I got your back way back over there.
And I don't blame the players for that.
Yeah.
I don't. It's the environment that is already created that doesn't allow the players to really show their true feelings.
The thing is, for me, is it news if Raheem Sterling goes to Poundland? Is it news if he goes and shops in Primark? You know, he didn't steal anything, so why is that news? Why is that important?
Why can't he have a dirty car?
Exactly.
And his
Subliminal
little
messaging.
Subliminal messaging, and that's what's been in the media for such a long time.
What role, Jonathan, do you think the media should be playing, having experienced this particular incident?
Right. Well, the first thing I would say is it needs to stay on this story beyond the next 4 or 5 days. It needs to be top of the agenda, and it's not nice. Nobody wants to be talking about racism in football the whole time. It's not. We all come to this game because we want to talk about the game, but it needs addressing, and the media does have a role because it's not entirely representative of the society it purports to cover. Entry routes into journalism are still overwhelmingly middle class, overwhelmingly white, and when the gatekeepers of information are not representative of the people they're covering, that's when you get these often unconscious biases creeping in.
To conclude, are you hopeful for the future where this issue is concerned, Nigel?
I hope this is a turning point. I really do. I think Raheem's taken a big stand, and I hope this is really a turning point, and this isn't going to be something that's just going to be swept under the rug by next week. We really want change, and we hope that change is just inclusion.
I am still slightly concerned, especially if you look at the currents that are swirling in our wider politics, the march of the far right, the very divisive rhetoric that's been associated with the Brexit debate, and ultimately that may prove bigger than whatever efforts we make in the game.
I honestly think we're in a worrying period at the moment in this country, and that obviously impacts on football. And I think football, the game, will always supersede the individual or the topic of discussion for now. And that's my big worry. And I'm not lumping it just on the media, because the game has a part to play. You spoke about professional players coming out and supporting Raheem. How slow were the governing bodies? Did they come out and support Raheem the way that they really should have done? 24 hours, 40 hours, 8 hours later, he needs it instantly. So there's a bigger story here. There's a bigger picture here. Raheem is only a small element. What he's brought to the table could be a drop in the ocean, and that football needs to address.
Well, I never thought at this stage in my life that I would find myself talking about this issue again, but I suppose that's the reality of the situation. Been fascinating having this discussion. Thank you very much indeed.